Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is that time of year again. It's the Sephora savings event. So this is the first of a couple of videos I'll be doing with my recommendations, and these are my makeup recommendations. This time I really wanted to focus on new items that have kind of worked their way into my everyday rotation. So there are a lot of new releases here or things I've discovered recently, as well as some old favorites, of course. And I will have everything timestamped below by category, as well as all of the information about the savings event. If you're a Rouge member like me, you get 20% off starting today, October 27th until November 6th. And then from October 31st to November 6th, VIB members get 15% off and Insider members get 10% off. And then all members get 30% off the Sephora collection starting today, October 27th to November 6th. As always, it's free to join the Beauty Insider program, and the sale also applies to Sephora at Kohl's. The code for all of this is TIMETOSAVE, which I'll have in the description box as well as on screen. And I want to say thank you to Sephora for sponsoring this video. You guys know I love doing my roundup content for savings events, and these are videos I make regardless. But it's always exciting to get to partner with Sephora. I will also link my playlist with all of my past Sephora recommendations, including all-time favorites, seasonal favorites, things like that. I stand by all of those recommendations. This is just kind of the most recent updated version of what I'm reaching for the most. So without further ado, let's get into the products. This is again my makeup video, but stay tuned for my skincare, hair care, body care, fragrance, all of that. And I'm gonna start in the order of application that I do, beginning with base. Beginning with primer, I have to say my skin type this year has gotten a little bit more normal, just because I've been doing some laser treatments and I feel like that's been balancing the oils in my skin. So I've been very minimal for the most part with base, but I do have two old favorite primers that I've been using nonstop. This is actually my second tube of the Charlotte Tilbury Invisible UV Flawless Primer. I love this one because it's a light lotion consistency and it has SPF 50. It wears beautifully under basically every kind of base product that I use, whether it's a skin tint or a foundation, something more high coverage. I love that it gives you additional SPF coverage. I don't use this as my only SPF coverage, but it just wears really nicely and it feels weightless on the skin. It does add a bit of hydration, but it's not heavy at all. So here's the texture of it. You can see it actually has a little bit of glow within the formula. Definitely nothing as noticeable or as visible as, for example, Flawless Filter, which I also love, but just a very slight pearliness that again, is not really detectable on the skin, but it just makes the skin look really nice. The next one is what I'm wearing today. It's the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. I'm sure you guys have heard of this. It's like a gel serum that spreads out in a really thin hydrating layer, but it has a bit of grip, like stickiness to it that makes base makeup really stick to the skin. It gives it longevity without being matte. And that's what I really love about it, is that it gives you that long wearing quality, but it's not a super silicone heavy or like mattifying primer. It actually makes the skin look like skin all day long. Of the two, I probably wear the UV primer more just because I'm looking for sun protection wherever I can get it. But the Milk Makeup one is what I wear for special occasions or if I have a long wear makeup day. Moving on to base products like foundation, skin tints, all of that. I only have two recommendations because I have been reaching for this nonstop for basically any reason, whether it's my day-to-day life or I'm actually going out and I want a little bit more coverage. I just can't put it down. It's the CL Tint and Protect SPF 50. It's a tinted serum, and I wear the shade 04 Light Medium. I do have a more thorough review of this in past videos. I just think it's perfect. It has SPF 50. It's a mineral SPF, but you would never notice it. You would never know it's an SPF product. Of course, I wear this on top of my regular SPF, but it's nice to have that additional protection. I wear the shade 04 Light Medium. It's basically a perfect match for me. I can apply it with fingers, with brush, with a sponge, and it just looks so good. It's blurring, it's softening, like it makes the skin look really smooth and soft. It wears beautifully all day, especially if I powder it. but it doesn't look makeup-y. It doesn't look heavy on the skin. It's buildable if I want it to be, or I just go in with a bit of concealer where I need it, and it's just my ideal everyday base. I can't say enough good things about it. It's very sensitive skin friendly. There's no fragrance. It's basically perfect in my book. When I want a little bit more coverage, I have been reaching for the Dior Backstage foundation. You guys know I love this line. This is the reformulated version, and I did do a pretty thorough comparison with this and the older version. I think it performs just as beautifully. It's just that the shades have shifted a little bit. I think I have Too Warm Olive. It's definitely my winter shade, whereas Too Warm Olive in the old range used to be my regular shade. Regardless, I think it's a beautiful formula. It's fluid, it wears beautifully on the skin, it blurs the pores as well while remaining skin-like and being long-wearing. I also think Dior for luxury foundations has a really good shade range, including light olive shades, which not a lot of brands do that well. So again, it's just an old favorite, and I'm really, really glad the reformulated version is still just as good. What I lack in foundation, I'm making for in concealer. This has been a big year for concealer releases, so I actually have 4, and they're all different in my opinion, so let me tell you why. I'm gonna go sort of in lightest to highest coverage, in my opinion, starting with the Valentino concealer. This is the Very Valentino concealer. I wear the shade MN2, and this is almost like a skin tint for the eyes. It's medium coverage, but it has a bit of radiance to it. I really love the angled applicator, and I just like that it has a really, I don't know, sort of loose fluid consistency for a concealer. It's very spreadable, but it's not going to give you full coverage. It just looks like natural skin. It has a slight radiance to it, but it does set down, and I really enjoy this formula for everyday use. Then I have the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Concealer. I wear the shade 240, and I've really been enjoying this. I'm actually surprised at how much I've been reaching for it. I find that it's a really flexible formula, and I'm able to take a little bit and really work it across the skin, and it goes a really long way without losing coverage. It can gather a little bit in fine lines. I find I can avoid it by not over applying and by powdering around the eye, but I just love the radiance it gives to my skin. It just makes the skin look really glowy and pearlescent, but it's not a greasy or emollient formula. Then I have the Tower 28 concealer. I have the shade LBC that I'm using right now. This is a great multi-use concealer. It's great for around the eyes. It gives me really good coverage for spots or around the face. And it's something I reach for all the time just because it does double duty, especially if I don't want to wear any other base makeup. It's really good for that, and I find it has really flexible coverage as well, but it is quite buildable. And my most recent concealer discovery is what I'm wearing today. It's the Haus Labs concealer. This is probably my winter shade. It's 21 Light Medium Neutral. It is probably the thickest in consistency compared to all of these other concealers. It has a bit of creaminess to it, but it spreads out so beautifully. It's almost like an eye cream with coverage, and it pairs beautifully with the Haus Labs brush. This is their concealer brush. It's a bit angled, and you can see that obviously in the cutaways. You'll notice a theme here that I like a flexible concealer. I like when I can apply a little bit and it goes a long way. It stretches out across the skin without losing coverage, and so you're getting a lot of mileage for the amount of product that you're using. That can be difficult to achieve with really high coverage concealers. I wouldn't say this is full coverage. It's like a medium high coverage, but you're able to build it without it ever looking cakey. It doesn't sink into fine lines, and it really blurs across the skin and creates a really smooth complexion. I also think the Haus Labs shade range is excellent. That's true with the concealer as well as the foundation, and I think the undertones are really good. One thing to note is that I wear cool tones in Haus Labs. That just means it's not warm and peachy. That can be different for different brands, so I just want to say that. And they also have really good olive tones as well. Do you see Smidge right there? Can I help you? She's eyeing my plant. She loves to chew on my plants. It's a problem. Oh, let me finish swatching these. This is the Tower 28 concealer right here. Here's the Haus Labs concealer. You can definitely see it's brighter compared to these other ones, but it's a nice brightening shade for me. Moving on to powders, I have two sort of newer recent releases. The first one is the CL Filter and Protect SPF 30 powder. This is a tinted powder. I've reviewed this before. It comes in 3 shades. This is the shade medium, which is a good match for me right now, but I think I could go to light for winter. It also comes with a really nice little cute cushion puff. I've been really into taking just a little bit of powder, really working it into the cushion puff and sort of pressing it into my T-zone, and I don't really powder much on my cheeks lately. I love this powder. Again, there's an additional layer of SPF protection sort of built into the makeup. It's really diffusing, it's blurring, it sets the makeup. I like the little bit of tint in it. And I also find that even though it sets my makeup, it still makes my skin look like skin. So it's a great everyday powder when I don't need, for example, really long wear, or I just kind of want the makeup to stay in place, but I still want a sort of natural look. Sephora collection also just came out with a velour puff, so that's really nice, obviously if you want to get that separately. The other powder I've been loving, and that I'm wearing today actually for more formal events or long wear makeup, is the Milk Makeup Pore Eclipse Translucent Loose Setting Powder. So it looks like this. There are 4 shades of this. Today I used translucent light, but I can also use medium. I really love how finely milled it is. It feels very, very fine, and it kind of just blurs the skin in a really nice way, super diffused, very smoothing, but it's a modern matte. It's not like a flat matte. You're not gonna look cakey. It just sets the skin in place, and I trust that it's going to last all day. For setting spray, for me, there really only is one that I've been using constantly. You can tell mine is very well loved. I have one waiting in the wings. It's the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. This makes your makeup not budge at all, but it retains the skin-like appearance of your makeup. And it's actually a really good base under makeup if you want long wear, but it's also nice for just everyday wear, especially if you wear cream products, cream blush. Those can kind of disappear off your face more quickly than powder products. This will help lock it in all day long. For base brushes, I have 2. One is more multi-use. It's the Sephora Pro Collection number 56. I talk about this all the time. I think the Sephora Pro Collection brushes are fantastic, and this one I've had for like 10 years and I still use it all the time. I love it because it's a pinched foundation brush, but it's on the smaller side, so I can use it for foundation, concealer, or cream, blush, and bronzer products, which you'll see me use in my cutaways in the next section. The other brush is the Say Beauty foundation brush. It's huge. I love that it's weighty. It can kind of stand on its own on your vanity or desk or whatever. And it's very, very soft. And it's dense, but it has a decent amount of movement. So I really like it for fluid formulas because it doesn't absorb too much product. Let's move on to cheeks, starting with blush, which is a huge category for me. I have both cream and powder blushes, but let's start with liquids and creams. I'm gonna start with my latest discovery obsession. It's the Mango People multi-sticks. They're lip and cheek cream sticks. I haven't heard anyone talk about these. Mango People is a newer brand to Sephora, and I like that they have such a tightly curated edit of cream products. So this is a very classic cream blush formula. They remind me actually of the old Bite multi-sticks, but they're a little bit more modern. They're creamy, but they're on the stiffer side, which actually makes for long wear. So I actually like to take a brush and kind of swipe it. I'll actually take my Sephora Pro brush and swipe it across the surface of the stick and then stipple it onto my cheeks. And the shades are so stunning. They're very pigmented, but they don't start too deep. So I think they're gonna work for light skin tones as well as deeper skin tones. So this is Jaipur, this is Cherry, and this is Apricot. All really, really stunning shades and very flexible in pigment. Next up, I have a liquid formula, and it's the CL Blush and Protect SPF 50 blush. Again, have reviewed this before. It's so innovative. It's a liquid blush formula that has SPF 50 zinc oxide, but it doesn't feel like SPF. It just gives you that additional layer of protection. I have reviewed this on my channel before. This is the shade Bahati. It's definitely the one I wear the most as kind of an everyday shade. I like to take this on the back of my hand and pick it up with a brush and then stipple it across the cheeks. It's very buildable in pigment. I think there are 4 or 5 shades. They're all stunning, and I love that you get additional SPF protection, and it's super, super long lasting. A lot of times liquid blushes can be hit or miss, but this one lasts all day long, for real. Another liquid blush formula that's really grown on me is the Rare Beauty Soft Pinch liquid blush. I'm sure you guys have all seen this. I will say 1 tube of this will last you forever, and if you want a little bit more variety, Rare Beauty sent over their Blush and Glow 4-piece mini set. So this comes with 2 highlighters as well as 2 blushes. The highlighters are in the shade Magnetize and Transcend, and the blushes are in the shade Virtue and Wisdom. And I really, really love the shade Virtue. This is one of their newer shades that came out earlier this year, and it's what I'm wearing today. It's kind of like a beige peach. It's a nude shade blush. And I think it's a really great extension to the line because the blushes in the existing range leaned very pink and pretty bold. So I was happy to see kind of a warmer tone, beigey nude sort of blush, but these have a lot of pigment, so they're gonna show up on a lot of different skin tones. Again, I like to take it on the back of my hand and then stipple it onto my cheeks with a brush. Let me just swatch Virtue right here. Back to creams, I have the Nude Sticks Matte and Glow Core. Specifically, I really love the shade Peach Pearl. I just think it's kind of this bright but earthy peachy tone. I swatched it right there. These have the same ease of use and longevity that the original Nude Sticks Matte blushes have, but they do have this core of pearliness within it. So it gives you a bit more radiance. This one doesn't have shimmer. Some of the shades have a little bit more shimmer, but it just looks a little bit more radiant on the skin without being more emollient in texture. You still get that classic cream blush texture. One of my most used blushes, it's kind of disgusting because I use it all the time, is the Makeup by Mario Soft Pop Plumping Blush Veil. Name is so long, in the shade Barely Blushing. I did a review on 3 of the shades, I think, when they came out, but Barely Blushing is actually the one I use the most because it's very neutral. It goes with every eye look. It's not a very bright blush, but I kind of like that nude blush quality. These are on the dewier side. They have a bit of emollients to them as well as a bit of radiance. Not anything chunky, but it just gives a little bit of a sheen to the cheeks, and it almost looks like you just applied skincare, like that kind of dewy sheen. And obviously I really just dig my brush in here and I go really hard. And the last blush formula that I really enjoy is the Dior Backstage Rosy Glow blush, specifically in the newer shades and specifically in Rosewood. I have reviewed this on my channel. It's a very finely milled but hard pressed powder, but it does give you that kind of sheen effect across the skin. And Rosewood is a really nice earthy pink. I think it pops across a lot of different skin tones, and it's also very buildable in pigment. Moving on to bronzers, I actually just have 2 bronzers and they're both creams, but they're a little bit different. So the first one is the Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. I also have a dedicated review on this in the shade Medium. This is what I go for when I want more of a glow because it does have a slight pearl running through it and it gives you that dewy effect. It's really beautiful, especially in like, I don't know, when you have your hair pulled back and you want that really kind of natural, glowy, skincare makeup look, it's perfect for that. But when I want something without that sheen, but I still want a cream bronzer, I've been still loving the Tower 28 Sculptino. I wear the shade Getty, and this is a very classic cream formula. It blends out across the skin so nicely. It gives you that cream application, but it's not so dewy and it's not sticky across the cheeks. So it gives you more of a natural finish while you still have that really nicely blended, diffused look for your bronzer. I have two contours. The first one is what I'm wearing today. It's the Westman Atelier contour stick in the shade Truffle. I love the blendability of this. It's a very classic natural cream formula. It's not sticky, it's not dewy, it's not overly matte or powdery. It just blends across the skin with such nice ease. I actually took the Sephora 56 brush today to apply it, and you can see it has a really nice warm caramely tone to it. When I do want more of that true contour for a bit of drama or a more sculpted look, the Milk Makeup Sculpt Sticks are fantastic, and they have such a nice range from very light to very deep. I can actually go between two shades. I go between Toasted, which is their lightest shade. You can see the real ashiness of this tone. Or I can use the shade Stoked, which is their second deepest tone. It's a little bit more depth. These wear really nicely, especially for a special event. If you're photographing and you want that real contoured look, or you want just a more sculpted look in general. They blend out beautifully. They're really diffused and natural on the skin while still giving you that contoured look. Here are the swatches. So this is Westman Atelier Truffle. This is Milk Makeup Toasted, and this is Milk Makeup Stoked. Here are swatches of the bronzers. This is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer in medium. Here is Tower 28 Sculptino in Getty, and here is Westman Atelier Contour Stick in Truffle. I think you can see I kind of wear Truffle almost as a bronzer because it does have that warmth to it, but you can see how it looks compared to these other shades. Moving on to eyes, starting with eyeshadow. I think this is where I've seen the most change in my makeup use. I just don't reach for large eyeshadow palettes very much lately. I think my tastes are just changing, and that's been the case for a while now, but you'll see I mostly use eyeshadow singles. I'm gonna start with Merit's latest launch, their Solo Shadows. I've been waiting for this launch forever. I do have a more in-depth review of these on my channel. I have two shades. The first one is Mid-Century, which is probably the one I reach for the most just because it's a really good everyday shade for me. And it's this warm caramely brown. The other shade is Social, and this is also an amazing everyday shade. It's this taupey, cool toned brown. It's almost like this putty color. And these are a very stiff, dry formula. They're best applied with the Merit No. 2 brush, which has kind of a domed end as well as a more pointed end. I love the ease of use on these. You can really stipple them across the eye and just blend out in a really messy way, and it still looks good. I also love that these don't start out super, super pigmented, depending on how much you pick up, but they blend out in a really natural way across the eyes. You can certainly build them up to full pigment if you want, but I kind of like that sheer wash of color across the eyes sort of look that I think Merit was thinking about when they designed these. There are also some really good shades. There's a green shade I think called Viper in this line that I've really wanted, and they last all day long. They do not budge, they do not crease. Even if I don't use an eye primer, they last all day long. For single eyeshadows with a bit more variety, I've been loving the Fenty Beauty shadow sticks. They sent over a few different shades. They have both matte formulas as well as shimmery, glittery formulas. And this is a twist up cream eyeshadow stick. It's so easy to just swipe onto the eye and blend out with a finger or with a brush. Amber is a really nice sculpting shade for the eyes. They also have shimmery shades that vary from shimmer to more glittery. And these are also, again, really easy to blend out, but they set down and they last all day. Maybe not quite as long lasting as the Merit ones because these are a bit creamier, but again, you're still gonna get a full day's wear out of these. So here are the swatches of all of the shadows. This is Merit Mid-Century, Merit Social. Then I have Fenty Bellini Bash, Fenty Sip and Sparkle, and you can see the shine on those. Tiramisu, and then Amber. The Merit swatches I applied with my fingers, and obviously you see you're gonna get a lot more pigmentation with a finger, but with a brush you're gonna get a more sheer application. Moving into palettes, I only have two picks. I have to say I still love my Pat McGrath motherships. I love all my Natasha Denona palettes, but in terms of where I am with my taste, I've been into smaller format palettes. The ones that I've been reaching for are a newer limited edition holiday release, and these are the Haus Labs Eye Library eyeshadow palettes. There are 2 color stories, and they're both so good. They're what I'm wearing on my eyes today. This is volume 1, the Super Neutrals, and in each of these palettes you get 3 metallics and shimmers, and then 3 mattes and sort of satiny shades. The metallics are stunning. They really look like liquid shimmer across the skin. They're very opaque. The mattes are not as pigmented, but I kind of like that, and I especially like the last shade in each of these palettes, which is more of a satin. And this is volume 2 of the Super Neutrals. I'm actually wearing this really cool, slightly green silver. It's a very unique shade to my collection. And then I'm wearing a mix of mattes as well. Here they are side by side. I think of the 2, I actually prefer this one. I'm just into slightly cooler tones right now, and I think this is a bit more unique to my collection, though this is certainly something that I could wear on, well, they're both palettes that I could wear every day, and they both have like a couple of fun colors as well as some sort of more neutral shades. I love how compact these are. They're very weighty. The quality of the shadows is really lovely. They're soft and velvety, and they just glide across the eyes. I do have one large palette, and it's the Danessa Myricks Groundwork Defining Neutrals palette. I have talked about this in a past video. Mine is already very well used. So these shades each come in 2 formulas. There's a velvet pomade as well as more of a classic powder. And this is for face, eyes, as well as lips. You can do bronzer, contour, eyeshadow, even eyeliner, lip liner. I've done all of that, like a full face, with this palette. Danessa Myricks is of course a brilliant makeup artist, and I think these formulas are really beautiful. You get a lot of versatility out of this palette. Of course, I love her other palettes as well. I think her new Lightwork Volume 5 palette looks beautiful. I didn't pick it up, but I do have my eye on it if you want something with color and a little bit more texture and interest. But as in terms of like everyday use, there's so much you can do with this palette. So that's it in terms of eyeshadow. Obviously, you can look back at my other videos for Natasha Denona, Pat McGrath, the more exciting like large format palettes, but this is just what I'm reaching for right now. Moving on to mascara, I have a few that I have to mention. So always, always, always my Shiseido Lash Curler. Don't go anywhere without it. I just need to have it at all times. It's the best for my eye shape. In terms of a more natural mascara, you guys know I love the Merit mascara. This is a tubing formula. It gives you these really beautiful, light, feathery, fluffy lashes, but it's surprisingly buildable for a tubing mascara, which is not always the case. If you're not familiar with tubing formulas, they are basically smudge resistant. They come off with warm water in little tubes. They kind of form little tubes around your lashes, and they don't smudge throughout the day, which is really key, while also not being difficult to remove. Another everyday favorite is the Tower 28 Make Waves mascara. This is probably my 3rd or 4th tube. Let me show you the wands. So the Merit wand is a bristled brush, but it's very separating. The Tower 28 one is actually a plastic bristle brush, which I really, really love because it has the super defining like little spiky comb, and it allows you to work product through your lashes in a really, really defining way, a super lengthening way, without weighing the lashes down because of over applying product. And that's really, really key for me. I can apply multiple coats of this and my lashes look really good. The last one is what I'm wearing today, and it's a bit more lengthening, and it's the Longtime Lashy Dole mascara. This actually has a similar applicator to the Tower 28. It has a bit more of a defined curve, and it also has these defined bristles. I, again, love this for combing product through my lashes, especially if you have fine lashes that can get weighed down with too much product. This is perfect for that. I do find it's a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more lengthening than the Tower 28. So this is what I go for when I want just a bit more impact. I rarely wear eyeliner these days. I am today because I wanted a bit of definition to pop against the silver eyeshadow. It's the Urban Decay 24/7 pencils. I've loved these forever. The shade Roach, I think, or no, this is the shade Whiskey. It's a really nice chocolatey brown. I also love the shade Alkaline, which is more of this like Bordeaux wine color, really pops against brown eyes. This is just so good. It does everything I need it to. It lines lashes, it's flexible. I can use it to create a smoked out wing if I want, but once it sets down, it does not move. Even if my eyes are watery, if I have allergies or whatever, it stays on all day long. For brows, I actually do have a new favorite, and it's the Rare Beauty Harmony Brow Gel. They call this, I think, soft, flexible laminating and lifting. I don't get a full laminated look from this, but I haven't really been going for that lately. If I do want a laminated look, I'll go for my Benefit 24-hour brow gel. This gives me lift and shape, and it does give me hold, but it's not going to glue the brows down like to the skin. But I kind of like that. It gives me shape, it gives me definition. It's a clear gel. Here's what this spoolie looks like. It's a little teeny tiny. And I'm able to get some control over my brows without them being crunchy and without any flaking throughout the day. So let me just actually apply a little bit here. You can see, or hopefully you can see, you get a bit of lift and definition without a really intense, like super glue kind of hold. Moving on to lips, I have a couple of lip liners that are longtime favorites. The Tower 28 one-liners I reach for all the time. They are probably the creamiest true pencil that I have in my collection. There are 3 shades. There's a lighter pink, like a peachy pink, a warmer brownie nude, as well as a deeper chocolatey nude. And between these 3 shades, I kind of have everything I need. Obviously, my most used is this one. It's called Work of Art. And this is the brown toned nude. It goes well with basically every kind of lip shade that I like to wear. The other formula that I love is the Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencils. This is Endless Cacao, which I'm wearing right now for a bit of lip contouring. And I also love Anywhere Caffeine. That's one of my most used as well. These are a drier formula, but they are longer lasting because they are drier. They truly, truly last all day long. Whereas the Tower 28, I kind of like to reapply throughout the day. There are many lip categories. So I'm gonna start with sheer to pigmented, if that makes sense. So like starting with lip glosses, oils, balms, into full pigmented lipsticks. What I'm wearing today, actually, let me show you, is a combination of Endless Cacao. So I used that to sort of like contour the lips, and it gives you that true ashy, let me do this while I'm not talking. It gives you that true ashy contour to your lips. And then I have Hourglass Slip. This is their Phantom Glossy Balm. It's a twist up melty cream, and I just love this shade so much. This is the shade Slip. These just melt onto the lips. They're a little bit minty, but not to the point where it bothers me. I don't love really intense minty formulas, but it just smooths over the lip lines. It makes the lips look so full. I think this shade Slip looks good on everybody. It just creates this glossy bitten lip sort of shade. I think it's really flattering across a lot of different skin tones. You can tell mine is very loved. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but mine's absolutely busted. The letters are coming off, it's dented, it lives in my purse, but to me that is the sign of something that's well worth your money because it's really well loved and it truly lives in my handbag. In terms of glosses, oils, Milk Makeup this year came out with their Odyssey lip oil gloss. There are many, many shades. I've lip swatched all of them, but I really love these specifically. So the clear one is really nice because it actually feels like a lip treatment. I use this almost the way I would like a liquid lip balm. These are nice because they're cushiony, they're pillowy, they coat the lips, but they're not sticky and they don't migrate around the lip lines. So again, the clear one lives in my purse. Of the pigmented ones, I have 2 favorites. They have ones that are just pigment, and then they have ones that are a little bit shimmery. The pink one that I love is called Work Trip, and it's just a really nice classic dusty rose. The other one that's a little bit more pigmented is called Trek. And this is sort of almost like a cherry pink, and it has a bit of shimmer running through it, but once it's on the lips, you don't feel like grittiness from any of the shimmer. It doesn't even look shimmery, it just makes your lips look really, really glossy and full. And again, it doesn't move outside of the lip lines, which is really key, especially with a pigmented gloss. Here are swatches of the sheer glossy shades. So this is the Hourglass Phantom Glossy Balm in the shade Slip. Here is Milk Makeup Work Trip, and here is Milk Makeup Trek. Actually, Trek and Slip are sort of similar. Trek has a little bit more coral, but obviously I'm going through a moment with these sheer glossy sort of cherry red shades. I think it's a nice way also to wear a red lip without it being so dramatic like a pigmented lipstick. Getting into lipsticks, of course, I have to mention my favorite Merit lipsticks. This is the Signature Lightweight Lipstick. And if you haven't tried these, they're a very unique formula for a lipstick. These are sheer, they're sort of a waxy balm formula in that they're not shiny, they're kind of matte. The packaging is also amazing. I have a Merit brand review where you can see all of the swatches, but let me show you my most worn shades. I have all of them, but this is Cabo. And then I have La Avenue, which is a gorgeous berry, perfect for winter. And I have Slip, which is a brown toned nude. And here's what they look like. I think you can see, obviously, the deeper shades are more pigmented, but especially on the lips, they have a really nice translucency to them. They are buildable, but they almost start out as like a tinted matte balm formula, and then they're buildable in terms of pigment. But the shades are also stunning. They're very sophisticated. They're not your typical lipstick shades, but they're all very, very wearable as well. And it makes bright colors wearable when you have a bit of that translucency. For a step up, I have a glossy lipstick formula that I really love. This is the YSL, the Bold Lipstick. The tube itself is very chic. It has this gorgeous black and gold packaging. And this is a glossy lipstick formula, so it's not going to be full pigment. I specifically wanted to pull this shade number 14 because I think it's such a nice autumnal shade. So you can see it's not as glossy, obviously, as a gloss, but it has a glossy sheen to it. And this rusty red, I think, is perfect for fall and winter. Moving into full pigment lipsticks, I have to include one of my favorite formulas of all time. It's the Armani Lip Power Lipstick. Looks like this. I love this shade 110. I wear it all the time. It's this really beautiful brick red, but it has a bit of pink in it, as well as a bit of earthiness. It just really, really pops. And this formula is the best because it has creaminess to it, but it's also long lasting. It lasts all day long, like once it sets down, but it doesn't ever feel drying or matte on the lips. It just looks like a really nice cream finish. And then I had to include some of my favorite reds just because we're coming up on holidays. That's when I like to wear a red lip. The Gucci lipsticks, as you guys know, are a longtime favorite. I love the matte, the satin, and the shiny formulas. I especially love Goldie Red in their shine formula. Their shine formula, if you're not familiar, looks like this. It's a slim tube. Here's a swatch of Goldie Red. It's a little bit sheer. It has that translucency and that, again, shine gloss to it. And Goldie Red is the classic Gucci red. It's a much more blue-based red, so it's gonna pop against these sort of earthier burgundy reds. And then, of course, the classic Dior 999 shade. This is in their Ultra Rouge Dior formula. I also love this. This is like a classic holiday red. I mean, it's incredible. This is perfect for a long wearing red lipstick. If you have an event or you want to make sure that the red doesn't bleed outside of the lines, this formula is amazing. That actually reminded me of this formula, a more recent release from Dior, which is their Rouge Dior Forever. I have the shade 200. Not a red. We're on a bit of a tangent here now. But this is the most beautiful smoky caramel lip, and it's actually so good for fall and winter. And this formula is also super long lasting. Like one application will last you all day long. It is a higher pigment, but it feels creamy on the lips and it doesn't dry out your lips, but it also doesn't migrate. There are amazing nudes as well as reds in this formula as well. So I think that's it for me for my makeup recommendations. If you have any questions, anything you're looking for that I maybe didn't address here, please leave them in the comments. I'm happy to answer questions there. And like I mentioned, keep an eye out in the next video for my skincare, hair care, body care, and fragrance recommendations. Those are coming next. If you are picking anything up, if you have picked up anything here, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.